Okay, here. Last week we have talking about the visibilities, modifiers, and access or accessor methods. We haven't talking about the mutators. Okay, let's start it reviewing the visibilities. Right? So by default, the class variables or method can be accessed by any class in the same packages. We have used some of the keywords like public and private. Well, let's review what is public. A public, that means the class, data, or method is visible to any class in any packages. Okay, here we should always remember public means any class and any packages. We can use the class and data or method. However, if we change the keywords into private, right? So that means we are going to protecting the data or method. So in this case, such things can be only accessed by the declaring classes. So that means to the get and the set method, we have to declare another set of public get and set method to access those private attributes. Here we have talking about examples with the modifiers, right? We say that we have two packages, P1. The first two code is in P1, and the third code is in P2, right? This is the package difference. Okay, and the P1 for the class C1, we have a public integer x and an integer variable y without the modifiers, right? We say that we can take it as a protected variable, although this is the protected attributes is different from public and private, but currently we can just take it as protected. If you have learned something more, or you may taking C or C++ class, and the protected is also a keyword in those classes. And then for the attributes, in the C1 class, we have a public void method that is M1, right? And also we say there is a M2 method without any modifiers. Okay, for the method, we also say it is a protected method because it doesn't have the public and it doesn't have the private keywords there. Okay, for the third method, it is a totally private method by explicit attributes there. So how can we access the C1 and the C1 class for the data and method? Let's see. If they are we have C2 class lines within the same packages with the C1, right? I mean, they are C1 and C2, they are both in the package one. So here, we can create a C1 instance, and then we can access the variable X directly, no problem. For the protected variable Y and the protected method M2, okay, since they are stay in the same package, so C2 can access the data Y and the method M1. Okay, no problem. However, for the private data Z and the private method M3, although they are in the same packages, the C2 still cannot access to those values because for the C1, for the C1 variable Z and the method M3, those are private. So that means they have been sealed within the box. Nobody can touch it. So you may ask, how can we access for those data or methods modified by the private keywords? Okay, we will talk this later in our chapters and the labs. We can provide an external interface or expose another method within the C1 class. But however, it is not the things we are currently talking about. And then let's talking about the classes outside P1 packages. So that is referring to the C3 classes. Okay, C3 classes is located in the other packages. But now we are going to create a C1 method, a C1 instance using by the C3 class, right? And there we are going to access the public attributes, the public variables X. Okay, it's fine, no problem. We can access it because it is a public attribute. So that means no matter whether we are in the same class or same packages, it's fine. We can access the public things from anywhere and everywhere. However, for the protected and the private attribute variables and the method, if the invokee, if the caller is outside of the packages where the C1 is stay, right? It is currently in the P2. So the protected and the private attributes and methods are not allowed to be accessed by the C3 there. So that is the difference for the keywords, the modifiers and accessors, public, private, and the protected. You have to always remember such attributes and their authorities. So we say the private modifiers restrict access to within a class. The default modifiers restrict access within a package, and the public modifiers enable unrestricted access. And here is almost the same thing. It's a simplified version for the previous slides, right? So, and here we say that the default modifiers on a class restrict access within a package, while the public modifiers enable unrestricted access. Same thing. And this is another examples to demonstrate an object that cannot access its private members. We have discussed it in our previous course. And say, then we have discussed why a data field should be private, because we are going to protect some data, right? And we are also want to maintain the code that can be easily managed by the developer. Otherwise, if everything is public, that means, okay, every class can change the value for those public data and methods. It's not good. Okay, then we are going to talking something about the new things. Here, let's talking about this example of data fields encapsulation. Here we have a circle class, right? Because it is a UML diagram, class diagram. The minus symbol, the minus sign indicates a private modifier. Here we say we have a variable that the type is double, and this variable is referring to the radius of this circle, and the default value is 1.0. And then we have another private variable that is the number of objects there, and the data type is int. That means that we're using this variable to indicate the number of circle objects created. It's more like, okay, counting how many circles we have been created until now. And in the third compartment of this diagram, all the methods are set to be public. That means, okay, for those classes in any packages, we can call the circle method there. The first two are those constructors, right? The first one is a default constructors because we don't have any parameters there. For the second constructor, we have passed the radius to the constructor. In this case, when we are creating the circle, we will know the radius there. And then we have our getter method to return the radius of the circle. And we have the set method that is to set the radius of the circle. We say we can change the radius, right? And for the other data field, the number of objects, we also provide the getter method, which is the get number of objects there. However, we don't provide the setter method because when we are creating the concrete objects of the circles, we are going to create it. That means the number is already there. And we cannot set how many numbers we are going to create currently. But in the future, you can to do so. I mean, to restrict the maximum of the numbers of the circles we are going to create. But currently, we do not. And the last method is the get area. Since we already have the radius, right? We can calculate, we can get the area or perf, and the length of this circle. So let's see the examples of code. I will change it to the oh my God. I will change it to here. So let's go over the code with the UML class. Here we have we say we are going to create a circle, right? With private data fields. This is the data class name. And according to our UML diagram, we have two data fields there, right? Both of them are private because they are indicated by a minus sign. So here we say private double radius. We initialize it using 1. And we using the number of objects to indicate how many circles we have been already created, and we initialize it as 0. Okay, and one thing you have to be focusing on is there is a static keywords there. That means the number of objects, these attributes is shared by all the concrete instances there. So that means a circle, the circles we are created, right? They can have different radius, like the circles A has the radius 1, while the circles B have the radius 2. However, for the circles 1 and the circles 2, they share the same value for the number of objects, which is 2, because we have circle A and circle B there. That means we have 2 circles, right? Number of objects is 2. And both of these two classes share the same value for this data. And then we have our constructors. The first is a default data constructors. We don't pass the radius there. However, within these data constructors, we increase the number of objects. For example, we say that we are going to create a circle. However, currently I don't know the radius of that created circle. I just know I created a circle. It's fine. It's no problem. But the thing is that I have already created a circle, which is I don't know the radius of it. But the circle is already there. I should increase the number of objects, right? And for the default constructors, when we can set the radius for the circles without radius later on when we are going to use it, it's fine. And the second method is a constructor with a specific radius. We say we pass the new radius to the constructors. So when we are creating this circle, at that point, we already know the radius for the circle. And of course, when we are creating it, we have to accordingly increase the number of the objects there. And the remaining methods are those getter method and the setter method. Like we get the radius and we just need to return the radius. And also to set the radius, right? Here we are using a a simplified version rather than the if-else statement there, which is 3 parameters there. Like here is a Boolean expression. If the new radius is over 0, we set the radius to be the new radius. Otherwise, we keep it as 0. In this case, we can wait to set the radius to go negative. And then we have another get method, which is to return the number of objects, right? And you still have to be careful that for the static data, right? Even when we are writing a getter method for it, we still have to keep the static after the public keyword there. So in this case, the problem will not go wrong. And the last method is a normal method because it is only to get the area. And then in this method, we will return the true areas for the circles we have been created. Okay, this is the way we are going to calculate the area. That is radius multiplied by radius and multiplied by pi. And then let's take a look over the test-driven class there. For the test-driven class, it's pretty simple there, right? Here, this is the data type. We have mentioned a lot of times that a specific class can be a data type, right? So the circle with private data field now is a data type. Here we create such a data. We create a concrete instance, my circles there, my circle. And this my circle is a circle with private data fields type, with we have passed the 5.0 as the radius to initialize it. So in this case, that means when this line of code has been executed, my circle will be created with the radius 5.0. And at the same time, the number of the circle will increase by 1. That means, okay, we already have 1 circle there. And then we are using the getter method to get the radius and using the myCircle dot get area to calculate the area for this circle. And then here we changed the radius for the circle we just created. Here we pass the myCircle dot radius. Here we'll return the current radius, which is 5.0, right? We will get this number by this method. And then we multiply it by 1.1. That means, okay, we are going to increase the 5 to 5.5. And we set the new radius 5.5 to the myCircle objects there. So, and then we output the new radius and new areas. However, if you are implementing this line of code, so the number of objects is still only 1 because we only knew the circle with private data fields once, right? We only have 1 time using the new circle thing. So the number of objects created is only 1 there. All right, that is for this example. Then let's get back to the slides. Okay, let's talking something about passing the objects to method. Initially, we have been talking about something about passing the numbers and passing by reference, right? We have examined it in the exam 2. And we also talking a little bit in our last week's lectures. And then let's talking it more this time. So passing by value means we usually passing for the primitive type value. For those primitive type values, you can say those are like int or char value, right? And of course, we can also pass by reference type. Usually we say those are the strings and the classes we created, those are reference type. So this is the difference by passing by value and passing by reference. And let's take a look over the passing objects to a method. Here is pass by values. Okay, as we can see, this is a stack, right? A stack means that the things in the bottom is coming in first. However, those coming in late will going out first. This is a stack, like a bottle, right? You always drink the water from the upside rather than the downside. So let's see the first step, what it has to do. Here, the first step, it is the activation record for the main method. In the main method there, we have integer n, which is referenced to we say the radius there, right? The radius. And we have MyCircle. MyCircle is a class, is an object, right? This is an object. This is a primitive type. So when we are passing these two different types, for the primitives, we only passing the 5 to the print area method. We just pass 5. However, for the circle, MyCircle, we pass the reference. Okay, and currently you may have got confused. Okay, what is a reference? Actually, in last week, and we have talking about it a lot of times. I have mentioned it a lot of times, especially when we are learning the arrays, right? We say a reference, you can take it as the address to the memory. Especially we talking about the heap here. It is the address to the heap. For example, here is the stack area, and it is the heap area. When we are talking about the primitive data type, it's usually created here. Like we have a data which is 5, right? This is n. However, it is created in the stack. However, for the MyCircles, okay, I have a MyCircle there. However, it is a reference. This reference is referred to the heap. Okay, MyCircle actually is here. And the address is OXEEFF, right? And then we will store the OXEEFF there. Okay, I think I should use the other color. Okay, as you can see, right, here we just store the address, which is referring here. So we say it is a reference. And this is the concrete MyCircle. It's an object there. It has the data like radius and the get area. Everything is stored there rather than in the stack. So we pass the reference, that is the OXEEFF, and we pass it here, OXEEFF. And that is passed by reference. Okay, as you can see here, it is a heap. We say there is OXEEFF. Okay, and since we have already learned the arrays, right? Array means that we have a list of things they are sharing with the same data type. For example, if we are creating the integer, right? Array, like new array, right? 10. That means we have 10. We have 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10. We have 10 containers. And in each containers, they contain the integers. For example, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Those are integers. However, what if they are the circles type? Okay, let me change another color. That means, let's see, an array of objects is actually an array of reference variables. So invoking the circle array 1 get area 1 invokes 2 levels of referencing as shown in the next figure. Let's go to the next figure there. Okay, let's see. We have a reference there. In the previous example, we say a circle, like a circle object may be O, X, E, E, F, F, right? Here we may say O, X, E, F, 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 or here we say O, X, E, F, 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 F. This is the address for different objects. And the first reference is always referring to the first one. Here we say the OXEEFF, right? And this one is always referring to the first one, EEFF. Okay. That means in the stack, we don't contain the concrete data points there in this. We don't have, we only have the address. And only when we are creating the objects, we have the concrete instance. And which is why they say that they have 2 levels of referencing. Because the first level is this is the first level. This is the second level. Because they are only passing the address rather than a data point, a data object. So this is 2 levels referencing. And the circle array, which is the name there, right? Always reference to the entire array. And usually it's only pointing to the first one. And the circle 1 reference to a specific circle objects. That's the difference. So if we want to visualize it, I want to visualize it because I don't know whether you understand it or not, but at least you should have a concept of it. For example, we have, suppose here is our memory, right? This is heap, this is stack. And here is the heap. Now we have our reference there. That means, okay, we have our circle array. And it will have a value. For example, we say the OXEEFF there. Yeah, no problem. And this will point into the heap. Okay, let me change the color. Okay, then we have our first circle 1, right? We have our radius. We have our get area. there. And then we have our circle 0, still circle 1. We have also radius. We have also our get area until we are reaching our circle 9. The circle 9 has its radius and also get area. So that's it. That's it. This is the first referencing. And for each one, it's referencing to the concrete circle itself. So that's that is how this line of code can be visualized in the memory. Okay, let me see whether we have the code for this demo. I don't think so. Oh yeah, we have. So let me switch. Okay, let's see the total area, right? Here we create a circle array there. And the data type is the things we just talking about, a circle with private data fields. And then we create the circle array. Well, seems that we don't have this method. Let's see. Okay. Okay, here, this is the create circle array there. It calls this static method directly. So in the static method of creating the circle array here, we create an array with 5 elements there, with 5 circle array, with 5 circle with private data field there. And for each data, for each objects, we still new a circle with private data fields. Okay, here that means this first line, that means we have create a 5 placeholders there. A 5 placeholder, and the placeholder is for the circle with private data fields. However, what is the radius of the circle? We don't know. And then we iterate each container in the circle array. In each container, we are using a math.random multiplied by 100 to initialize the radius so that we can get a concrete circle with private data fields. So here, and then once we have initialized all the circle arrays, that means there is 5 circle elements there. And then we return the circle arrays to the caller, which is here, the circle array. So here is we created circle array and we initialize it in the static method. And after that, we print the circle array to get the total areas of the circles there. For example, here it's still a static method. There we pass this array as a parameter, as you can see there. This parameter is an array. Also, it's a pretty long and complex, but as long as you can understand that a class can be a data type, it would be quite easy for you to understand this line of code. You can take it regarded as an int, right? An int with a blanket bracket circle array. However, the int is now replaced by the circle with private data field. And then we output the radius and the area. And after that, we calculate we get the area, we get the radius and we calculate the area. We output its informations. And then we write another method that is sum to get the total area. Okay, within the sum here, we still passing the circle arrays to this method. And then within this method, we also iterate each element and add the get areas together. In this case, we can sum the 5 elements of circles areas together. All right, it's better for you to run it on your local machine so that you can know how the nested static method are implemented. And let's do it to see whether we can run it. Okay, it can only give us, okay, we cannot step by step implement it, but it's okay. Fine, we will skip it. So for these examples, you can always access from the supplemental other resource and from the supplemental examples from Introduction to Java Programming. I think this website is doing pretty good on visualizing the codes for the beginners. And then let's get back to the slides. So then we are going to talking about something about the immutable objects and classes. We say that if the content of an object cannot be changed once the object is created, the object is called an immutable object, and its classes is called an immutable classes. If you delete the set method in the circle in listing, I think it is referring to, okay, we don't have it. Oh, here. No, it's not there. We don't have it, but we can imagine, right? If we delete the set method in the circle class, which is referring to this one, set method, and then it will become an immutable class because the only things we can provide is, okay, here we initialize the circle and then we get the radius, we get the number of objects and we get the area, but we cannot change it, right? We don't have a change method. In this case, the circle will become an immutable class. That is what it's saying. That means this class can only provide the informations you want, but you cannot change it anymore. And a class with all private data fields without mutators is not necessarily immutable. For example, the following class, students have all private data fields and no mutators, but it is mutable. Let's see. Okay, here we have a student class there. And for the data fields, they are all private. That means if another class creates a student, it cannot access the ID and the birth date from the outside packages and outside classes. And then we have constructors, student there. And the constructors will initialize the SSN, the date, the birth date there. And we provide a getter method that is return the ID to the caller. And then also we have a get method for the birth date here. And then we still have another data class that is the birth date. For the year, month, day, although all private. And we have one constructors and also we have a setter year. We have a set method here. Right? And then in our test method here, we knew a student. we initialize this ID. This is ID as 111222333, and the birth date is following. And then we use the student dot get birthday, which is referring to this method, right? To get the student's birthday. And then we use the set method there to change it from 1970 to 2010. So that means let's see. Okay, that means that this set student class, although with all private data fields, but it without a mutator, it is not necessarily an immutable class. However, for the students class itself, right? But it is a mutable. And then you should looking through carefully of these 3 pieces code and digest it. And then what class is immutable? We say for a class to be immutable, it must mark all data fields private and provide no mutators method and no accessors method that will return a reference to a mutable data fields objects. Actually, for this one, I think this is immutable. For the students, it's an immutable because we have all things private, and what we have is getter method, right? We can only get something. However, with the birth date, that means, okay, we can change the birth year. So it makes it mutable now. So this is the magic and the charm for the objects. Then for the variable scope of variables, actually we have talking about it long ago, right? Also we have examined in our exam too. The scope of the instance and the static variables is the entire class. They can be declared anywhere inside of the class. And the scope of a local variable starts from its declaration and continues to the end of the block that contains the variable. And you should always remember that is the end of the block, right? Which means the nearest curly brackets, you should always referring to the starting left curly brackets to making the alignment of the block that contains the variable. And a local variable must be initialized explicitly before it can be used. And also we have talking something about this keyword previously, right? And also we examined this keyword in our exam too. And what is this referring to? I used to say that this keyword is referring to the object itself, right? And one common use is of using this keyword is reference a class hidden data fields. And another, we say that usually we say like we have a setter that is set name, right? And then we pass a string. If you can remember, when we are beginning to learn the setter method, I write the code like this, string name 1, right? And within this block, I write this dot name, right, is equal to name 1. And this is referring to the objects, the students we are creating itself. And the name 1 is something we are passed by value or passed by reference. We can say it's supposed to be taken as, for example, here, the Alice, right? We set the Alice to the name. And the name here is an attribute. This is a concrete name. Another common use of this keyword is to enable a constructor to invoke another constructor of the same class. For example, here, it seems that it doesn't have it. But we'll see. Okay, this one. This is a default constructor, and this is a human crafted default constructor. Here we pass the radius to this radius, right? This is explicit use to the reference the data field. However, we can also using this way, like this with brackets with 1.0, that means we use this to invoke the other constructors, which referring to this one. That means this is calling circle 1.0. And this 1.0 is passed to the radius there. And then the radius will go to, where is my pen? Sorry. And this radius will go to here, 1.0, and then we'll finally assign to this radius, 1.0. After that, when we are getting the areas, and this radius will provide to here, 1.0, also here, 1.0, and then this is the pi. Okay, this is the data flow. And let's see about this one. Currently we have a class template that is class 5, right? Class F, right? We have two data field. The first one is instance variable I. The second one is the static variable. We say that it belongs to the class. That is a class variable. We say this is K as an account. And then we have a method to set the I. The first is set I by I. Okay, this I is referring to this one and pass to this I. And then this I is referring to this I. And then we have a static method that is set K. Okay, currently we don't know what is K, but we have such a method to set K. And in our test method there, suppose that F1 and F2 are two objects of F. We have F1, new F, F2, new F there. Okay. And we can invoking F1.set I10 to execute this.I10, where this reflects F1. Okay. That means we are calling the F1 set method 10, and also this is set the F2's I to be 45. So after these two set method, initially, okay, let's see, F1, F2. Before, right? Before F1 is 5. We say the I is 5. After we call the F1 set I, it becomes 10, and F2 set I, it becomes 45. This is, we say, the hidden data fields. We set the data fields as private, but we expose a method to set it to another value. That is the set method. And then that is all for our course and all for all the lectures we should have for this semester. And the next we will do our lab. for the chapter A. And after this week, after this course, I will take you to do the project. I'm a little bit worried that some of you may not know how to write a project, so that I know you may be reluctant to get a group. You can submit individual project. It's okay. And if you don't know how to write a project, and please follow the next lectures. I will create an object from scratch one by one. So don't worry about the project things. Okay, let's see what's the questions we are going to implement today. Okay, let's first take a look over the 8.4. Here is asking us to create a class rectangle with attributes length and width, each of which defaults to 1. And we should provide the methods that calculate the rectangle's perimeter and the area. And it should have the set and get method for both length and width. The set method should verify that length and width are each floating point numbers larger than 0 and less than 20. And you should write a program to test the class rectangle. Okay, let me open my IntelliJ. Wait a minute. Okay, I'll new a module that is lab. Zero 08. Okay, awesome. And then within this class, let me create the rectangle class. Okay, within the source file, within the source directory. Java class. Okay, we see that is rectangle, right? Okay, let's record the question. It says we should have a two data field, that is the length and width, right? And since we have learned the data hiding, now we are going to set the data field as private. And for the length and width, I think we'd better set them to be double rather than integer, right? Because it may have some fractions. And we say the length. Okay, this is for the length. The other one is for width. And we have constructors. We will have our constructors that is public, rectangle. Okay, this is the default constructor, right? As we see, we have learned how to using this, right? 1.0, 1.0 to invoke another constructors. And in the other constructors, we will pass two parameters. Okay, as you can see, right? When I write the framework of the handcraft constructor, and the error is eliminated. Because this, as you can see, when I click this, and the highlighter is pointing to the rectangle there, that means, okay, this keyword can invoke a constructor. Also, when you are put your mouse flow on this keyword, it also pointing to the public rectangle double length width there. And within the human craft there, we can set our length and width. We're using this keyword, this length is equal to length, right? Okay, if I put my mouse over the length, as you can see, it will indicate me, okay, what is this dot length? That means it refers to the private double length here in the line 2. I hope that I can teach this in person, because when it's doing online, something cannot be explicit clearly using words, but it's okay. You guys are pretty clever, and you will know how to search the internet and using the AI tools to help you to understand with. Okay, here is our constructors. And then we can write our set method. We say set our length, right? And we can also have public double get length, right? We don't have pass the value to it. Rather, we should return this dot length. And the same thing is for the width. Okay, somebody is talking. Oh, thank you is following. Thank you following. Okay, let me change it to oh, I write everything wrong. Okay, width. Okay, width. Okay, the get method and set method has been done. And then we will have our get area method. Get length multiplied by get width. Okay, this is for the get area method. And we can also using a toString method to formalize some output. Okay, here it has. We can return a string dot format. The toString method is set, for example, when you call it, it will give a fixed format to output a specific information. Like here, well, I want to using the toString method to output a statement that always indicating the length, the width, and the parameters and the area. Okay, the parameters we haven't write it, right? Let me write it later. Let me first making the toString working. The first is we are going to write is the let's okay we place the placeholder one by one so we will not go wrong. Okay, the length with a comma. After that, it's supposed to give us the indication of the length, right? So the second is referencing to the get length method. And then we will have, we can change another line. And then we have the same thing. That is for the width. And then we may have our parameters thing. Okay, we still have two parameters, right? Get. Okay, we currently don't have that method. We will write it later. As you can see, I don't have this method, so it's using the red to indicate. And then we will have get area. Get area. Okay, this is the toString. So we will then write a method to double get parameter. And what we'll have to return is how can we get it? How can we calculate for the parameters? That is 2 multiplied by the get width, right? Oh. Get width plus get length. All right. Then that is for this method. Actually, if I can share a very interesting things to you. last weekend, I interviewed with another startup, and I got into the third round, and they asked me to do vibe coding. I can share the things. I can share the vibe coding interview questions after this course to do some machine learning infrastructures. They allowed me to using the ChatGPT or cloud to help me to design. I was just feeling it's a little bit interesting that yes, eh, it's asks me, it gives me some questions. Actually, it's a concrete project they are doing, and asks me to using the ChatGPT to help me to organize my thought. Previously, I heard that some companies will examine your vibe coding abilities, but I have never thinking that things will happen on me. So in our course, I mean, for the rectangle things, if you are using vibe coding and you can input into the ChatGPT given the requirements, giving your requirements, and then it will output those. Here we have 43 lines of code, right? We have coded them one by ourselves for a long time. But if you're asking ChatGPT, they can return such a thing to you immediately. But it's okay, although we have cloud, but something we still have to practice by ourselves, which is a little bit taking a lot of time. I will share the vibe coding questions for you later for this course so that you will know, okay, maybe you will make something related in the future. Okay, I'm talking too much about things not related to this course. Okay, then let's write another test code. Rectangle test. Okay, here we create our main method. And we can use a scanner to get the user input. Okay, but it cannot import automatically. New scanner. System.in. And then we can create our rectangle instances. New rectangle. Now we have new a rectangle, but we don't initialize it, right? So here we are going to create a menu. That's the menu will like indicating the users, but we are going to set the length, set the width, or exit. So here, let's see, we create a static method to create the menu. Okay, private static int get menu choice. And then here we say we will have int choice dot get menu choice. Okay. So what's the problem with it? Let me see. Private. Okay, this is in the main method. I should write it out of the main method scope. Because this is another method. So here in the get menu choice method there, right? We can use another scanner to fetch the input. Okay, we could have a prompt. Okay, let's get a new line. 1 set length. Okay, it's supposed to be F2. Set width. And 3 exit. And we can output the choice. This is for choice, just a prompt. And then here we will return the input next int. Or if you cannot understand this line, we can declare int, right? That is the choice, which is fetched from the user console. And then we return the choice to the main method. I'm writing right. And this one will return to here. So once we have our menu and get the choice, and then we can call the method using a while loop. So things while, as long as while is the choice we have is not equal to 3. Because we say here the 3 means exit, right? And then we will using switch. We can using a switch statement. Like the choice is here, it's inside. Okay. In the case 1, the switch is doing the pattern matching. That means match the choices with each cases. If which gets the choice, the case is 1, we say that we can implement such things that first we enter the length, right? And then we set the length. We already have our rectangles there, right? Let me, for example, okay. I will hide this one. So in this case, you will see what things we have. And we can use the rectangle dot get set length here, right? We have a method dot set length. Pass, and then we can pass the input. I think it's not next int, it's supposed next double. Okay, if you mix with the 2 inputs, we can change the name. Inside the get menu, we use this new scanner instance input 2. In the main method, we use the input 1. That means in this class we have 2 scanner instances there. One is input 1, the other one is input 2. So in this case, you will not mix the 2 input instances. Sorry. And once we set the length, we break. So each time we only do one step. Okay, for the step 2, we can sort out. Width. So since we still have a case 3, right? No. Okay. Should we have a default? No. Oh, we should not have a default because we only have two cases. Okay, this is the switch. And after that, we can call the toString method. Like rectangle dot toString. And then it will automatically provide the information here. We have a toString there, right? It will automatically provide the length, width, perimeter, and the area information to us automatically. So the toString method sometimes simplify certain kind of tasks. And after that, we can get another choice. So get menu choice. Okay, that means we will perform another round of making decisions, what we are going to do. So let's run this code together. Let's try. Okay, here. It says 1, set the length, 2, set width. Let me take 1. And then he asked me enter the length. We say that is 5. Okay, currently I set the length is 5, but the width is still the default value 1, right? As we can see here, the default is length 1 and the width 1. And then I will set the width. I get the choice 2, and then I make the width as 3. Okay, once I have done with it, it would now indicating all the correct thing. Length is 5, width is 3, parameters is 16, and area is 15. And that is for this code. And for the toString, this toString method is mapping to this line of the outputs. When you are calling this method here, it will automatically calling this toString and then returns the string format for all the informations we are requiring within the method. That is the length, width, parameters, and the area. And that is for this method. I will upload the code to the Brightspace, and then I will expect you to at least download it on your local machine and run it to experience it. Okay, I have uploaded the rectangle and the rectangle test to the Brightspace. And I will give you 7 minutes to perform it. And let me see. Actually, I'm expecting today we are going to do another problem, but seems that the time is not enough. But the other problems is going to appear in our final exam. But it's okay, we can do it next time. So please try to implement or run the rectangle class by yourself and let me know if you have any questions. And also, I will share the vibe coding interview questions to you. How can I upload the attach? Oh, I have attachment. And yeah, I have also shared the vibe coding interview questions and my submission documents. I uploaded to the announcements. If you have interest, you can go there and download it, have a look. But I don't think that bigger companies will ask vibe coding things. Only some small to medium or startup companies may give you such a examination. But anyway, it's better to, I mean, you don't know what you are going to be examined. At least just to try to prepare enough and get every chance and try your best. Okay, if you have any questions, you can stay. Otherwise, you can leave now today. Good night to you all. Okay, thank you. Good night. And it was
Professor.
GMI, GMI Cloud. A company sells the GPU. They are doing something about the LLM gateway, machine learning infrastructure. Actually, I don't know it. I don't know it at all, but they just want to examine my way of learning and my ability to learn new things. No, IBM will not give you vibe coding. They will ask you something even difficult.
Professor.
IBM is a big company. Good night, Verna.
Professor, you hear me?
Yes, Janice.
Hi, I just want to ask you if we were going to have a final exam because I was absent the last week. I want to apologize because I was sick but I don't know what's going on in the class. I just want to ask you if we got final exam or something to do.
Oh, I didn't. Are you talking to me?
Yes, Professor.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it. Can you repeat?
I just want to ask you if we're going to have a exam because I was absent last week, so I don't know what was it. Could you say something about it?
Sorry, I still cannot hear clearly.
They're asking, I can help. They're asking if we're gonna have a final exam.
Yeah, we will have two final exam. Uh, one
Oh,
is one is on the May May 19. The other one is on May 21st. But they are similar to our exam one and exam two. It's not difficult. I'm arranging it to one day, 21st, but the department asked me to separate them into two parts. So I have to obey the rules. But don't worry
but
about that.
it's gonna be like in person or it's gonna be online?
Online,
Oh, okay. Okay.
online. And
Thank you.
most of the questions, there are 10 multiple choices. It's easy. And there are 5 questions, like complete the programs. And those things are all appeared in our lab sessions.
Okay.
Only one, the other only one questions I will implement it for our next lab. It's easy, and there are 2 codes that you have to write. One is from the leak code. I have asked you to practice by your own through the leak code, right? The 2 sum questions. There is another one, but it is still easy. Most of things,
Okay.
yeah, most of the things you have been met through my course. And if you don't know it, if you know how to vibe coding, you can get the correct answer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
It's okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, bye.
Professor, I have a question. I don't know if you answered it earlier, but did you already grade the second exams?
No, no.
Ah, okay, I was wondering.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's supposed to be
Because
graded next week.
Ah, okay, okay.
5 to 7. I think it's 7 students haven't submit. It's too
Oh
much.
wow.
So I'm still waiting for their response.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Professor. I'll be sure to
Thank you.
like put in my homework and everything. And have a good day. Have a good
Okay,
night.
you too. Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay, Professor, have a great day. I'm gonna look over the questions. It's the interview questions.
Yes. It's an
Yeah.
interview question. Just for
Uh,
startup. Be focusing
oh,
on practicing leak code, okay? Leak code
okay,
for undergraduate is pretty important because the
okay,
online assessment will pass most of the students, most of the interviewees.
okay,
Okay. Only when you pass the leak code online assessment and you can get into the phase of vibe coding.
okay.
Okay. See
Okay,
you.
Professor. You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.